Welcome to Mentoring Moments. Mentoring Moments is a sub-series of the E-commerce Edge podcast. It is composed of clips taken from Jason's one-to-one and group mentorship sessions. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Edge podcast with me, Jason Greenwood, your host. It is my pleasure to welcome another, I would say, digital nomad-ish, similar to myself and my wife, Sharon Custer, and she is an inventory optimization expert with Inventory Optimization Pro. Welcome to the podcast, Sharon.
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here.
It's amazing to have you along for the ride today. And we were talking off air about all the different countries you've lived in. You're originally from Taiwan. You went to university in Australia. You've lived in the United States. Now you live in Costa Rica. You've lived there for a number of years. So you're now in Latin America, much like my wife and I are. I'm originally from California, lived in New Zealand for almost 30 years, married a Kiwi Asian who was born in New Zealand, but she's Chinese, Vietnamese, and now we live in Mexico. We've lived in a number of different countries around the world. We travel many times a year to the United States and to Europe for business. I guess having that global view of society, global view of business, global view of the industries that we work in, I see that as very much it's an extra string to your bow. It allows you to see the world through many different lenses, and it allows you to build a level of empathy for other people and the way that other people live. It's difficult to build that empathy any other way. But when you've lived in multiple different countries, man, you have to develop a sense of empathy. Otherwise, you're going to find life really tough, aren't you?
I would say it comes naturally. Like you just enjoy what it comes to you, and you will see the beauty of every place. For
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I couldn't agree more. People are people everywhere, and most people just want to live a good life, be able to look after their children, be able to feed themselves, be able to have a good quality. Very few people I've met ever have an aspiration to be rich. They just want to have a good life. They want to have a healthy life. They want to have a good life for their children, and they want to have a good life for their community and their friends. And that's the way the priority of the world is if you're a human being. But how did you get into this world of looking at inventory optimization as like a career, right? You've been doing this for 6.5 years, but prior to that, working inside manufacturing companies, distribution companies, et cetera, where inventory optimization, if you don't do that well, it will put you out of business. And if you have too much capital tied up in inventory that isn't selling, you might as well kiss your business goodbye. So, what was the attraction to get into this world of inventory optimization?
It's I can talk about this for hours, but I think let me just digest a little bit how to be more concise. In the beginning, my background is commerce marketing. So I work for 3M, big corporations, and you think that you know it all, like you deal with all the different departments, you manage demand forecasts, you look at the manufacturing side, talk to the warehouse, and then you deal with marketing. So you think that you see it all. I see it all. Yes, that's a great foundation, but at the end of the day, it's somebody else's money. Okay. So it's easy to say, oh, I think this great idea that I can make it work and I'm just pushing marketing. I'm going to design this one, this and that, and put it all together and go. It's sure, yes, new application is important. Sure, new product launch is important. Sure, chasing the revenue is important. But it comes to time when you own your own business, you will start looking at cash. Can I make it next month? Can I make it next year? What am I going to do with this and that? There are many things that you don't have a finance manager to call. Hey, this is happening. What to do with this? There's nobody to talk to. And you will start seeing the constraints, the constraint of the business, the size of the container, the frequency of the container, the cash you have, all that. And then you will realize like there are so many things that you can't control. It's not like you want it, you get it. I start looking into the cost. It's not what I think it is. And then it is expensive. expensive. Of course, like there are several choking points of the business, and it just eye opening is, hey, how do I protect myself from not happening again? It's not just something like unexpected. We had the container swing from South California all the way to the other side of Panama Canal, all the way to Caribbean. 4 months, where is my container? Those kind of the things, like it is something like it gives me a lot of situation, give me that opportunity to look inward as a business owner. It's really about self development. How can I solve this problem better? What did I do? Something is not right. So that it gives me an accumulated experience throughout the years that I want to give it back to business owners, like who may encounter the same question, why my cost of goods sold is not accurate. Why it is that I have very like unpredictable gross margin? What happened to my cash? All those questions, down from calculate how to calculate your finance, how to reconcile your accounting, how to manage your warehouse, how to operate in the sense that the workflow makes sense. All those things that make me think and improve, and to the point that I just like, hey, I can use this skill to help people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you say on your website. You've got a tagline. It says, before decisions become irreversible, some inventory decisions do not fail loudly. They simply remove the ability to change course. And once capital is committed, there is no rewind. Quantities cannot be unapproved. I like some of the thinking around this, because for all the businesses that I've worked in, both directly as an employee, my own companies, as well as consulted to many manufacturers and distributors, the reality is I've seen everything all the way from back of the napkin math to the most complex spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet you can imagine, trying to predict demand, trying to predict cash flow as it relates to demand, all the way to formal demand planning software, either independent of an ERP or inside of an ERP, trying to take into account things like seasonality, right? Seasonal demand, all supplier performance, many other KPIs that they try to bring into a demand planning software to try to get to a place where they maximize sales, meaning that they don't run out of stock when they have the opportunity to sell an item, but they don't overstock, meaning that they don't have capital committed that will not turn over in a reasonable amount of time. And there are so many variables that go into the decision-making process around procurement. Even if you're a manufacturer, you still got to do procurement of raw materials. You still, like, there's procurement. No matter what kind of business you have, there is a procurement element to it. And that is the challenge, especially the world realized, I think, during COVID, that just-in-time models don't work. They fail spectacularly, right? So everybody pre-COVID was trying to do everything as just in time as possible and wait to the very last minute to get raw materials and to make goods and to ship goods and to create a PO. But man, COVID taught us all that that model is really dangerous in a fragile world, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
And
It
how, when you go in and you start working with a business for the very first time, is it usually the businesses that have the flashy demand planning software, or the businesses that have tried to do everything in Excel and they really don't know where to go next in terms of trying to get better at this demand planning thing?
it's interesting when business come to me, usually come few things. Demand forecast is one of it. But that's not actually, it's a symptom. It's not the root cause. So they will come, basically come with a question, why, where's my money? Like they have a question about their cash. That's actually why they coming to me. It's why it's, I don't understand. Why can I not able to buy my next container or next round of inventory? That usually is how it came up. Yeah.
And is that usually a scenario where, where's my cash? It's sitting in the warehouse in a bunch of inventory that you're not selling fast enough. And in other words, you need to convert some of that inventory into cash before you can pay for your next container. What is the root cause of a lot of the top 3 root causes that you run into with these clients that you work with? Like, what is the commonality between them?
The commonality, if you want to just from the first thing you spot, is they never count their inventory. The physical count just never happened. You'd be surprised, they're actually pretty common. And then the second thing is, okay, they have accounting all tied up. They adjust inventory values. You will see, like, on the surface, the reporting is very pretty, like everything.
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. In general. And then you come to, you will see some, or it depends which accounting system they're using, especially the AI ones that has like automatically like a push that bank statement line item into the accounting system. The problem, it comes like the timing of the recording. Like, maybe you come with the shipment coming today, you have physical product, but the vendor did not give you invoice for the freight forwarder fees or whatever that is, come maybe 2 weeks later, or whatever that is. If as long as it costs another month and you didn't really look at that, all that cost in one package and then divide it into a unit cost, then you are thinking like, all the costs is in my book, it should be right. But it's not, because like you don't tie it all together, you don't know which one is which. So that the unit cost it's not, it will never be correct. And the other issue is, it's the timing. The number one is the timing issue. And then the other one is, what was that? The workflow, in the way that everybody think differently. Like the operation think that as long as I look at unit cost per purchase, that's the unit cost. Operation, the purchaser will think that's the cost. Finance will top down, break down unit cost. Accounting will, maybe sometimes they put things together, make sure that each shipment has their unit cost, sometimes not. So everybody think differently. And that's just how, when you're trying to make decision, you don't know which number is correct. Yeah. And then the other one, often one, is the decision making or logic, the process, in a way. Say if you have a purchase order and then you look at average, like you just tell your VA, say, give me average, like past 3 months, what is the average of sell through? And then they book based on that. Yes and no. Your rule, the policy, is your backbone of your decision. So it really depends on the situation of your business. Okay, maybe your whole year, say 3 months average is normal, it's reasonable. But if you are the other type of business, you only sell good months during the summer or good months during Christmas, you can't use that 3 months average. It's not going to benefit you. You're going to type more cash than you realize. Things like that nature. And another example is that it's more often than that is people would chase demand forecast. I will break your bubble. Demand forecast will never accurate. Accuracy do not exist. It just, demand forecast is helping you to understand what direction your business is going. Okay, it's expectation. Okay, but when you're making purchase decisions, you cannot chase your demand forecast. Yes, it's an indicator that you need to put into consideration, but you need to look at the fact, what really happened, really true happened. Like it will have a lot of layers, but it's just like when you make that decision, you need to see like how much money you need to put into to make just enough to go to next decision point. You can't just say, oh, just in case. You're just in case you say buy another 1,000 units. But the problem comes is that your 1,000 units has no base of, you need to have a reason. You need to understand your why. Maybe part of, I don't know, maybe you CPG, you say the lid of your container, that little lid from India that will take 3 months because whatever weather reason or the supplier
Or maybe
reason.
there's protests, or maybe there's a raw material shortage, or maybe there's shipping congestion, or could be a million things.
Exactly. You have to have a solid, reasonable reason to justify your expense. So that when that factor change, you know exactly how you adjust your action next. Yeah.
And when you go into work with these businesses, are you typically working with businesses that are using something like a QuickBooks, a Xero, some smaller sort of accounting package? Or are you typically working with companies that are using a full-blown ERP, like a NetSuite or a Fulfill or some sort of other ERP system, maybe an SAP or something like that, where oftentimes the major ERP vendors will sell themselves as having a demand planning and demand forecasting module that is plug and play. You just turn it on, follow the instructions, and everything will be fine. The problem that I see, and I'd love your thoughts on this, beyond the systems that people use, is the fact that those systems don't know things like, unless you're plugged into a weather forecasting system, for example, they may not know how a change in weather in one of your major customer destinations is changing and might impact demand. Or they might not know, oh, here is my 12-month marketing plan. Here's my marketing plan. The ERP doesn't know anything about my marketing plan, or it doesn't know anything about the brand collaborations I've done, which means that we're going to be marketing, say, for example, these 5 SKUs. We're going to be marketing the shit out of these 5 SKUs over the next 3 months in a brand partnership deal. And the ERP knows nothing about that. And it doesn't know how that is likely to impact demand for those 5 SKUs outside of the historical information that it has over the previous 12 months, for example. So I feel like technology is one thing, but insight is a totally different thing to technology, right? I feel like there's always got to be a human in the loop of these systems, no matter how good that system is. What is your thought?
Oh, this is in a sense that tools always is a tool. They are here to help you. You are the one to make it happen. You need to tell, like you have a system, right? Today you change your calendar, you change your idea, you change your way of things doing things because of XYZ reason. You need to tell your planner what's going on. It's not, yes, like a lot of advanced planners, like, am I allowed to name somebody?
Of course.
Okay. For example, Streamline. It gives you like a baseline seasonality, give you, you can tweak whatever that is to give, it has a really beautiful graph to show you what assumption you're putting and how it layered to one to another. It's you to tell the system what is there. It could be weather, okay, it could be MOQ, minimum order quantity, it could be anything. But at the end of the day, it just, you don't need to babysit that calculation or babysit that forecast to get what you need. But it's very important. You cannot just say, oh, it will do wonderful magical work, I don't have to think about anything. It does not work like that. You have to be the one direct the direction. In AI world, we call guard rails. You have to put policy in place to make sure things work in the right directions, right? In a workflow way we explain its policy, right? You have to think about it. If demand forecast goes well, this is the direction how I'm going to place my order. Or the PO would say, when it's the reordering point. But it's like everybody's looking at a direction, the best scenario. That's another thing is not mindset. But it's so that's it, just look at your thinking. It's like in the screen, it that demand forecast tool just reflect what
Mhm.
you are doing. You have to start thinking, okay, if today's sales is not doing well, and then your VA sitting there just knowing that reordering point is 3 weeks or 3 months or whatever that is, and that VA or even automation just do exactly what has been told. But you need to be very clear to tell yourself, hey, if my sell-through rate dropped to whatever, or if my inventory turnover is this, or if my sales revenue does not hit my break-even point, then I need to stop purchasing. And you just have to be very specific. What is your stop point? It cannot be vague. It cannot be just like, oh, we will see. See if it will be worse tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you bring in any specific technology, either that you've built yourself, or do you recommend any third-party systems that can help do the math, so to speak, with that human oversight, human in the loop decision-making processes? I totally get that. I understand that humans have to be part of this process because there's math, there's science, and then there's intuition. And the reality is that you develop a sixth sense. When you've been doing procurement for a while as a business owner, you start to feel, you can look at the raw numbers, but you can also say, oh, okay, demand is a little bit slowing. The number of inquiries we're getting is decreasing. The number of emails we're receiving is decreasing. Sometimes you can feel things before you can see them purely reflected in the numbers. It's like walking outside and saying, "Oh, there's a storm coming. I can see it, I can feel it in my bones. I can feel that it's getting colder. I can feel the wind change." Once we lived here in Puebla for a while, I now know when I look outside, I have a pretty good idea of whether we're going to get an evening shower just by looking outside because I feel it. There's a sixth sense that you develop over time. And I feel most business owners, leaders, procurement specialists, et cetera, they start to develop a sixth sense over time. Sure, they may need to do more research. They may need to look at the data a little bit deeper. They may need to look at supplier performance a little bit deeper. There's lots of things they may need to look at, but the prompt, the intuition to start looking into that stuff deeper oftentimes is a gut feeling to begin with. And then they go from there. And I feel like technology can help make you more efficient as part of that research, and it can certainly aid you and it can certainly augment you and it can give you superpowers in a way. So when you come in, is there a technology set that you recommend to help augment the decision making capability of these business leaders?
I do recommend technology when I think when I know there is a fit. Okay, it's not my main sale because I just really believe when it is really difficult and time consuming, especially mental consuming to implement a new piece of technology, I don't likely recommend somebody just because, unless the owner really need to solve certain problems and I know that technology is going to help. But really important is that the technology is helping you to surface the visibility and assumptions because your intuitions is your experience of all those experiences and give you that assumption this is the storm is coming. You just know because you look at the weather, you look at whatever that is. The same thing with the technology. If the technology has that capability, try just put that assumption in place that surface that information to you quicker, then that's a good technology. You will see a lot because like inventory optimization itself is not purely about it's really not about procurement, it's not about purchasing, it's not about demand forecast, it's about your money, it's about your cash. Because there is a disconnection, people thinking it's a very low, a very big gap, like disconnection of your procurement, your demand forecast, your warehouse management. That is just the op stuff. But really, all those op stuff really is tied into your finance and how that thing is going to integrate each other. That's the key point that help the business owner to understand like your action today is based on the finance you can see, but it ripple effect to the back ends. So really come down, no matter is AI, no matter is inventory management system or ERP, it is it's you, how you manage your business. That's the key, that your assumption, your policy, your workflow, your data hygiene, that's all those things are more important than try to manage each small departments.
And is it mostly, are you coaching, teaching, mentoring these businesses how to primarily manage cash flow through the lens of inventory? Is that kind of like the angle that you usually have to approach this at, which is, hey guys, you don't have unlimited resources, you don't have unlimited cash, you don't have the ability to buy, even if your selling forecast, your sales forecasts were 100% accurate for the next 12 months, you don't have the ability to buy 12 months worth of inventory. Even right now, you're going to have to buy that over, say, the next 4 quarters. You're going to have to maybe make a purchase quarterly because you simply do not have the cash. Even if your demand forecast is right, you simply do not have the cash to buy all that inventory today. And even if you think that it may be difficult to get inventory in quarter 2, you can't bring quarter 2 purchase forward into quarter 1 because you just don't have the cash to do it. And so, is it about trying to help these business owners forecast cash in, cash out to buy replacement inventory, and then when that revenue recognition is going to happen for that newly purchased inventory? Is it about helping them link together the concept of cash flow management and inventory management?
As part of it, yes, majority part of that is it is about how to manage your cash, but more it's more how to manage your energy and your resource. In the way, a lot of things are very invisible. Like for example, it depends your business. Say you have 1,000 orders, so you have 1,000 of invoices sent to the clients every day, and then you have 5 people sit there just trying to sort through it, what is what, right? But if you have a piece of app that just you are able to email and send it to the system, everything's done. You compare it to 40 hours to 1 hour. It is something like I hate to see people are using their resource wrong, no matter it's time, your mental energy, or your employee labor's cost, or whatever that is. At the end of the day, that you don't want to, when a CFO look at the overall strategy of the business, they would make sure that the business can go through a certain navigate that difficulty or challenge. And then the last resort they really want to do is borrow money. And then the funny part is that a lot of people is borrow money to make that inventory sit in the warehouse. And it just because in case that is needed, it's nothing wrong with in case you needed it, but you need to really think through, is this the decision that you really want to make? And a lot of time it's very interesting. This is not the first CFO told me this. No matter the client is a light manufacturer or they are reseller, or inventory is never in their conversation. They all think the inventory is fine. And that's very interesting to me because like there are so much money that you can dig into your warehouse that you really can find money. I'm serious. Yeah. And it's just not something people they really assume that is it. It is what it is, but it really is not true. It's a lot of a way to manage your resource, especially your cash.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that specifically because I had someone on my podcast a couple of months ago who was a specialist in identifying shrink in businesses and where the shrink was happening, where inventory was being lost. Is it being lost because people are stealing it out the back door? Is it being lost because returns aren't being accounted for properly? Is it being lost? 100 different reasons where inventory is being lost out of the business from the time it's sent from the manufacturer to the reseller to the end retailer. There's a million places that this can be lost. And he said, I was working with one client recently and it was a dollar store type of a chain. And he said they didn't realize it, but they had $700 million worth of food product that was about to expire in one of their warehouses. And they didn't even know they had it. They didn't even know that it was about to expire. They didn't know that they needed to sell through that within the coming 3 months. Otherwise, they were going to have to throw $700 million worth of product away. And I was like, okay, now we're talking, that's not a small amount of money. That's nearly $1 billion worth of product that is going to have to be thrown away just because they didn't know where the inventory was and they didn't know it was going to expire. That to me was shocking to hear. I guess if you've got 2,000 stores or 3,000 stores in your chain, it's pretty easy to have that much inventory tied up in a small amount of SKUs. It's just the way that it is. And when you go in and you're talking to these business owners, are you is one of the first questions you ask, when was the last time you did a stock take? Do you even trust the inventory numbers that you have in QuickBooks or your ERP or your IMS or wherever you have your inventory count? Do you even trust that count first? Or is that something like we need to set a foundational number that we can all trust before we can do anything else? Is that like normally the very first step? I know it sounds dumb, but is that like the first step that we need to take?
Usually, it could be the case. If they really don't know why, if they have such a big question, like, where's my money? Like, where's my cash? Then the first thing that I would ask, have you ever really count your inventory? Because that's the most, how to put it, it's the thing really close to the truth.
Yes.
It's not it's 100%, but really, how many inventory, usable, resellable inventory that there is, do you really trust that? That's the first thing that you need to look at. Then you will see like how that will service a lot of their workflow issue, data accuracy issues, their thinking logic process issue, like how they set up the event forecast, how they receive their inventory, how they release the inventory, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things to say once you know their habit of counting the inventory. The second thing is like some of the business, they do count their inventory regularly, but it comes to the problem like the warehouse just report what is missing or what is more than they thought they have, whatever that is, they just do a adjustment.
That doesn't tell us why or how.
Correct. Yeah, why it happens, especially that really impact a chunk of the cash for the business. You can, because the write-off usually is what happened 3 months before, whatever that is, and down the road, and this is what happened. Yeah.
And how often, let's say you're a $50 million a year business selling physical goods. I don't know, let's say you're a distributor, a small distribution company. How often do you recommend that they count their inventory, that they do a stock take? Is it once a month? Is it once a quarter? Is it once every 2 quarters? Once a year? Like how often? I guess it would a little bit depend. If every time you count inventory, you're only off by 1% or 2%, like if every time you do a stock count, it's pretty close to accurate, then I guess frequency becomes less important. However, if every time you're counting inventory, until you can get to a place where it's pretty consistent, that it's pretty consistently accurate, the more frequently you need to do it, right? Like that would be my logical sense is we need to keep counting inventory until we can get to a place where we trust the damn number.
I would say count as frequent as reasonably possible. What I would say in general ideas once a month. The reason is that you will close and reconcile your bank statement, right? Once a month. Do the same thing with your inventory because that will tie into your reconciliation frequency. The reason doing that is the more frequent you are counting your inventory, the higher chance you will spot your problem early. That is the thing. Like if you count it once a year, you don't know if your item was stolen in January or it was stolen in November, and you don't know what event happened caused that problem. Not say definitely stolen, but I'm saying like that discrepancy will have an event happen. So when your mind is fresh, understand what happened in, I don't know, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months ago, that you alert, you understand this is what happened. But if you let it drag it so long, you don't know, and you can't. When you cannot track, you cannot fix it.
And also, I think at the very least, if you are going to be making a significant purchase of a SKU or a set of SKUs from a supplier, you should probably at the very least be doing a stock count before you place that order. Like you should be going out there and you should be physically citing. If you think, oh, I'm down to 100 units of this and that's why I'm placing a new order, before we press send on that PO, we should probably go out and validate that we do only have 100 units left of that item that we think we need so desperately. Like I feel like doing those stock takes, at least on a SKU level basis, when we're going to be procuring more of it, like to revalidate that number we think we have before we go out and spend a whole bunch more money on getting more of it, that feels like a pretty smart thing to do. What is your take?
It is. It is as you. It some of the business to the point that they can count everything in 1 month.
Yeah.
Or a certain point. We spot counting, so you know you're not missing too much. But at the same time, yes, you are correct. You should at least have a stock count before you place a PO to make sure that what you think in your head or show on the system is actually a true information. But at the same time, I want to dig a little bit deeper, is that you need to start thinking like, is my system accurate? What do I mean by system? Is some of the business I saw is like exactly the same thing. They have different name of the SKU. They have different name of different barcode or whatever variants that is. It's named the same thing. And one group of that order is a pilot on the east side of the warehouse, and then the main ERP system is reading it from the west side of the warehouse. So everybody think that the warehouse only have small portion of amount. They keep reordering that and thinking like it's always out of stock, but they have a ton that's sitting in the warehouse. They don't even know that's the cash sitting right there. And you don't even think like the manpower keep reordering, the out of stock keep showing up on the website. It really matter. It does matter because you keep rush ordering things that you already have plenty in the warehouse.
And I guess that's the benefit of doing a complete stock count at some point, whether it's monthly, quarterly, whatever, is that you're going to find that chunk of inventory sitting in the corner of the warehouse. If you don't have a place to update that chunk of inventory in your ERP because that SKU that's on that pallet or on that carton, if you don't have a place to update that inventory in your ERP, you're going to go, okay, we've got inventory. I have no place to update it in my system because it doesn't technically exist in my system. Now I need to investigate that further. And I realize, oh, okay, this is actually the same thing as this other item, but it's either been, maybe it's been labeled wrong. Maybe it's been put inside of an external carton that was wrong. Maybe the old SKU was deprecated by the supplier. Now this is the new SKU, but it is the replacement SKU for the old SKU that we have in our system. So I guess that's the benefit of doing a holistic stock take, however frequently you do it, is that you, in theory, are going to identify literally every single unit of every single item in a location, and you have to reconcile it somewhere. And so you're going to uncover any discrepancies, any conflicts. That's the point at which you uncover those conflicts.
Yes, you have to constantly, in the way that, when I say constantly, take it back. You have to have a cadence or a schedule to do all those things. Oftentimes you feel like, oh, it's not really important, it is not on your list, you should not be doing it, it should be accurate. No, if you just trust your inventory management system or trust your 3PL or trust whatever that you think the truth is, you don't check or confirm that's true, then it will eventually will bite you seriously. Like it's the same thing. Like if you treat your finance every month, you reconcile your bank statement, you will definitely find like you pay your ERP twice, or you
Yes.
definitely pay the wrong thing or wrong whatever that is. It could be
Or you're still paying for something you don't even need.
correct. Yeah, it's the same thing with inventory. If you don't reconcile it, you will never know what's wrong with your business, where your cash is, and all kinds of problems.
The famous saying, trust but verify, right? That's the
Correct.
famous saying,
Yes.
and it absolutely applies to inventory in our inventory locations. And sometimes those inventory locations might be a physical retail store. They might be a business to business, like we might have a dealer network and we might have inventory out across that dealer network, or we might have in the distribution world, VMI is a huge thing, vendor managed inventory. And so therefore we have inventory that's literally within our customers' premises, and as they draw down on that inventory, then we get paid, but we still need to be doing stock takes, or that customer needs to be doing stock takes on a regular basis to make sure that things aren't slipping out the back door that we don't know anything about. And so
Yes.
I feel these inventory locations, they might not in in all cases, they are not necessarily DCs. They could be physical store locations. They could be VMI locations. They could be any kind of 3PL locations. And there might be a blend of all of those in our business. We might have some owned DCs. We might have some 3PL DCs. We might have some VMI locations. We might have a mix of all of those locations in our network of inventory locations. And we need to make sure that we have that regular cadence across every location type.
Yes, that's definitely correct. And don't think inventory counting just help your inventory value for that amount of items. It is about verify all other area of your finance. For example, the accountant will usually like at the beginning balance plus what you bought purchased minus what you sold equal to ending balance, right? So when you are end of the month, when you're in the end of the month, you always just okay, I know my cost because Amazon and Shopify send it over. And then so what is my ending balance? That like they just use that formula to calculate it. But the problem comes is that when you're purchased, like you don't know your unit cost, like you never really calculate it. You just let the amount is floating there. When any of the element is incorrect, that formula is incorrect. Did you get me?
Yeah, it has massive downstream impact.
Right? So if your inventory count is correct, then you know how much inventory value that is. Then you will realize your formula is incorrect. Then you just find out like, hey, I shouldn't calculate my month-end inventory value by just use math formula because this is not the truth. You see what I'm saying? You have to have some checkpoint, the truth of your business to verify if your workflow is right, your assumption is right. It's not just it impact your strategy. If your input is wrong, your strategy is wrong.
Yeah, input is wrong. The output, by definition, is going to be wrong. Garbage in, garbage out. That's a true saying. I remember many years ago when I was consulting to a client via an agency that I was working inside of. I remember taking a warehouse tour of this gentleman's factory where he kept all of his inventory. And he asked me, he said, Jason, what do you think I see when I look out across this warehouse? And I said, oh, you see this and that, you see these items and you see these components and you see that. He said, no, Jason. He said, I see stacks of cash sitting in my warehouse. That's what I see. He said, I see nothing but piles of cash that I have spent to stock those shelves with those things that you just described. That's what I see. And he said, so this is very important to me. He said, think of this like a bank vault, because that's what this is. He said, when I walk into my warehouse, I think I see this as a big, giant ass bank vault. And I have to treat it with the same security, the same respect, the same process, just like a bank would protect its vault of cash, I need to protect my vault of goods, because this is cash. It's just cash I've converted into these things. And so I thought that was a really interesting way of thinking about his business and his inventory.
It is true. He is telling you the truth. It is cash. You have to treat your inventory as a cash, and also your time as a cash too. It's funny, people will say, it's okay, I'm just waiting out 2 weeks. Sure, it will make you feel better, but you think about it, like how much money you actually waiting on, that amount of money tied it up, and also the opportunity cost that you put out just because that 2 weeks.
Yeah, because you might not be able, if you run out of inventory during that 2 weeks, then that means 2 weeks you ain't selling that stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. Listen, this has been a really super interesting conversation. It's been really enlightening for me. If you could sprinkle fairy dust on the, let's just call it broadly, demand planning and forecasting industry, because that's an industry all of its own, and it's got its own software, it's got its own language, it's a cottage industry all of its own. If you could change something about the demand planning and forecasting space, what would it be?
I think it's communication. The thing is, like, I see a lot of procurement professionals or even analysts, FP&A, they are excellent in the way that they are really know how to really get things accurate, even align with financial report or whatever they're doing. But very important is that they need to think their business owner or their CFO, they are managing certainty, risk, challenge, and cash. Think what you are doing today, right now. What are the cost to the business owner, or time, the opportunity? That is where that you will make a lot of things very clear, easy to communicate, easy for the business owner to make decision. If you give that very important key factors, it prioritize the pro and cons, the business owner will thank you to no end, because the business owner or CFO is going to sit there, try to dig all those metrics and KPIs, and it's trying to sit there, it's like, what does this mean? Am I writing the good check out to the purchase order? Am I going to regret that I released the cash today? Those are the things the business owner are thinking. All departments would speak the same language or think about the same thing or have the same formula, it will streamline that communication much smoother.
I couldn't agree more. That's so accurate. If we're not all singing off the same song sheet, it's not going to sound very good. No, I couldn't agree more. I'll drop a link to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes, as well as your website in the show notes. But other than that, how do you like people to get a hold of you and talk all things inventory optimization?
Oh, I really truly wish talk to me. Like it's really, I'm lucky, like this is my profession, but it's also my passion. Really drop a line on LinkedIn or email me at contact@inventoryoptimization.pro. Any question, like you want to just bouncing some perspectives or ideas, feel free. Because like I really don't like post on my social media. It's just like I'm broadcasting. It's not fun. Okay. I like you to talk to me. Chat.
Like humans, right? Like humans do.
Yes, like people are lost touch of like real human connections. It's like the reason we're posting on social media, I just hope that something like really connected that you want to talk. That's it. Just talk to me.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Now, as we do come down to the end of our time together, and we've spoken for almost an hour, has flown by. This is my opportunity to flip the script. This is my opportunity to hand the microphone over to you to let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. Sharon Custer from IO Pro, Inventory Optimization Pro. What is your question for me today?
Okay, how do you get into the podcast and why do you do it?
Like you, it's about my job, or it's I'm discussing a lot of things about my industry, but it's also my passion, meaning that I don't my primary source of income is not my podcast, it is my consulting work. And in 2016, 2017, when I really started to get serious about podcasting, when I looked out into the industry of e-commerce broadly, I didn't see the type of content I wanted to consume. And there's more podcasts now like mine, meaning that I had a very much a technical and operational focus in my daily work, right? But I didn't see many podcasts that had an operational and technical focus. Most of them were talking about digital marketing. Most e-commerce podcasts were talking about digital marketing and merchant stories. And I said, that's great. There's this whole other part of e-commerce which is not marketing. And I felt like that side of the industry was not served very well. And I thought, if nobody else is going to do it, I might as well do it. And I also treated it like a love letter to my industry, because this industry has been very good to me. It has given me a life I could never have dreamed of 25 years ago when I entered this industry. I could never have dreamed of the amazing life this industry has gifted to me. And so I wanted to give back. I wanted to share what I know, and I wanted to also give really smart people like you a platform where they could share what they have learned during their career and create almost like a hive mind to be able to share that knowledge with the world. So that was really why I started doing this, because I didn't see anything out there like it, and I really wanted this content to live in the world. And two, it was like a gift back to my industry because it treated me so well.
Awesome. Sounds really cool. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
My
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you for having this podcast. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you. You clearly know your stuff. You live in this world every single day. You know it inside and out, and the pitfalls that people run into when they try to do these things on their own, especially if they've never had this as a focus in their business before. You've been laser focused on this for nearly 7 years. So you know what it feels like to feel like your business is out of control, right? Because if you don't know where your inventory is and you don't know where your cash is, that pretty quickly starts to make you feel like your business is out of control. And I feel like you can help businesses bring an element of confidence, right, and peace to their business that they can't get any other way. So I really appreciate you sharing your story. If you'd like to get mentored by Jason for free, head over to greenwoodconsulting.net, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click Get Mentored by Jason.